Good morning, children. It has been a second. Had to take a bit of a hiatus. I know you all have been missing me terribly. My sister had her baby, so I had to be an auntie for a bit, and I'm way excited about that. So I'm here to finally talk about the stuff that I read back in January, starting with Bird Box, which is today's topic. So Bird Box was a very interesting read. For this one, I gave 3 stars. I'm about to explain why. As you guys know, with my star system, I actually assign stars to things. One being for plot, 1 being for emotion, 1 being for importance, and 2 being for characters. The first star I had to take off was for plot. And this is only kind of a half star taken off for plot because I think it's a really good premise for sure. I just don't think the execution was. Anyways, Bird Box is about a sort of epidemic-ish thing starts happening where people start killing themselves after they have seen a thing, and it's like an uncontrollable thing. So people speculate that there is like this monster going around that's Lovecraftian in the ways it just makes you go crazy. That was my take from it anyways. So the survivors in this world survive by not seeing anything. Whenever they go outside, they have to navigate blindly. Whenever they find a new house, find a new location, they have to feel up every inch of it before they can open their eyes in fear of seeing one of these monsters and dying. It also goes into a thing I think should have been explored more, where some people, when they see it, go crazy instead, and they like try to get other people to open their eyes, which I thought was very strange and not explored as much as to why this happened with some people and not with others, why it hadn't happened to more people, and why the monster needs people to see it. So mainly I feel like this book was just too short. It wasted a lot of potential. It focused on one person throughout the whole thing, which is a good way to keep suspense in these things, especially if you don't want your audience to know why. It still opened up a lot of doors without really explaining much. With that, I didn't like the ending very much. I don't know. It's not even like a bad ending for like the characters. It seems so underwhelming compared to everything else. I don't know. There's like a whole thing where the mother who's the lead character, doesn't name her children for some reason. They're just boy and they're just girl, and that was like the big point at the end, finally naming them even though they're like 6 years old. It didn't make much sense to me. I did take off a star for plot just because it seemed very lacking for the big ideas it introduced. It's like someone just had a concept for something really cool, maybe even a bit sci-fi, fantasy, and then just is all like, I don't feel like following through with explanations, which, I don't know, might not have been the author's intent, but that's what I took from it. Second star that it did earn was for emotion. That is just on the basis that it sparked any kind of emotion in me, which is hard for a lot of books to do. I say this, but it seems like all of the books I've read this year I really loved. But this one actually sparked a lot of emotion as it was so tense. The way it was written and the way that each scene was introduced and this world was introduced, and there was a lurking dread in there that I was feeling the whole time. It did keep me on the edge of my seat, so I do have to give it credit for that. The next star I kept for this one that I gave it was for importance. I feel like this one is a good way of introducing a new kind of genre in horror, and I don't know what exactly it's called because it's been doing it quite a bit since this book has come out. I actually had to go to my John Krasinski shrine and ask it whether or not it copied this just a little bit. And that's the thing where you are having to survive while being impaired of one of your senses. Now I'm saying this is good for books. I heard that the Netflix adaptation to this has gotten a lot of flack. Because, of course, everyone's saying it's copying A Quiet Place, even though the story came out beforehand, the movie came out later. Also, a lot of qualms with the story that really come up whenever you have to see this in a visual way. Now, I think the book works really well because as the reader, you are also blind. Now, with film being a strictly visual thing, I don't really see how they brought the same intensity. The thing I'm imagining while reading this book of how they shot the movie is just the whole thing is just zoomed in on the character's face whenever they have to be blindfolded, because you can't show the area surrounding. You might show the monster, you don't know if the monster's near. That's like kind of the suspense of the whole thing. I don't see the movie being suspenseful at all. And I don't know. It just doesn't make much sense as a movie. I don't know if I'm gonna watch it. I probably will. Maybe they did something revolutionary with the camera work that I'm not aware of. I'm definitely not aware of it because, like I said, all I've been hearing is hate. So the third star that this book earned, as well as one of the stars I took off, was for character, which, I was very generous with giving that star. I mean, you get a bit into the lead character's psyche. You get the desperation of a mother trying to keep her and her children alive, in which cases she had to be mean in this unforgiving world to teach her children, like whenever they were babies, like babies, she had to train them to keep their eyes shut whenever they woke up. So she would stand over them with a fly swatter, slapping them in the face whenever they'd wake up with their eyes open, to teach them to wake up with their eyes closed, like training them, which is a horrible thing, but it kind of works in this world. You have to go to those kinds of extremes, and I thought that was interesting. I thought it could have been delved into more, especially how that would have affected her. She does wonder often if she is a good mother, which she is keeping her children alive, so in this world that does apply to being a good mother, but she has to go through very cruel ways of doing that, which I thought was incredibly fascinating. The rest of the characters, there's nothing really there. She had a sister for 2 seconds. She lived in a house with other people, and the kids, I don't remember them saying a word other than yes, mother, or no, mother, or okay, mother, or I don't know. Like I said, the main problem with this book, I think, is that it should have been much longer. There should have been more time to explore the world. There should have been more time to explore the characters, for sure. Especially when she's living in a house with survivors, you're in really close quarters with people you wouldn't otherwise meet. I love those kind of situations where you get to learn about people and like grow an understanding living in the same house. I really like that kind of stuff. Honestly, whenever I go in to write plays, that's like my #1 favorite premise to do, is just put a bunch of people who don't know each other into a room together and see what happens. It always adds for great character studies, always adds for great stories, and I don't know, it's kind of one of those things where you care more for the plot whenever you care more for the characters. In this case, I didn't really care. Honestly, the way it ended, I wasn't happy for them, I wasn't sad for them, that's not a spoiler at all. I just was like, okay, this happened, and I was just done with the book. If you're looking for a really good suspense, this is definitely the book for you. I think I read it all in one sitting. It was very intense. If you're looking for good world building, not the place for it. If you're looking for good characters, not really the place for it. But like I said, it was fun. I don't regret reading it. I think it adds a lot of character to the horror genre, so there is that. But yeah, Bird Box, give it a shot. Later, taters.